Our brains are amazing. They help us make sense of the world. But did you know our brains use two different systems to think? System 1 is fast and automatic. It helps us make quick decisions. System 2 is slower and more deliberate. It helps us solve complex problems. These systems work together. Sometimes they cooperate, sometimes they clash. Understanding these systems can help us make better decisions. It can also help us understand why we make mistakes. Imagine you are driving a car, you see a red light, you automatically put on the brakes. This is System 1 in action. System 1 is fast, instinctive and emotional. It relies on intuition and quick judgments. This system helps us navigate everyday situations. It recognizes faces, reads emotions and solves simple problems. System 1 operates quickly and effortlessly. It often works without us even realizing it. Now, imagine you are solving a difficult math problem. This requires System 2. System 2 is slow, logical and deliberate. It helps us analyze information, make reasoned judgments, and solve complex problems. System 2 takes effort. It uses our working memory. It can be mentally tiring. However, System 2 is essential for critical thinking. It helps us make informed decisions. Our minds are prone to biases. These biases are not just random errors. They are systematic and predictable patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment. They affect the decisions and judgments that we make every day, often without us even realizing it. These are systematic errors in thinking. They occur because our brains are wired to take shortcuts, known as heuristics, to make decision-making more efficient. While these shortcuts can be helpful, they can also lead us astray. They can lead to poor decisions. For instance, we might regret a purchase we made impulsively or feel confused about a choice that seemed clear at the time. These biases can affect everything from our financial decisions to our personal relationships. These biases are often a result of System 1's shortcuts. System 1 is the part of our brain that operates automatically and quickly, with little or no effort and no sense of voluntary control. It's the system that helps us navigate the world efficiently, but can also lead us to make snap judgments that are not always accurate. One example is the anchoring bias. This is our tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, the anchor, when making decisions. This initial information sets the tone for everything that follows. This is our tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. For example, if you are negotiating a salary and the first offer is lower than you expected, you might end up settling for less than you deserve because that initial number anchored your expectations. For example, if you are told a house is worth $500,000, you might be more likely to pay a price closer to that, even if it is overpriced. This happens because the initial price sets a benchmark in your mind, making it difficult to adjust your perception of the house's true value. Another common bias is the availability heuristic. This is our tendency to judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily we can recall examples of it. If something comes to mind quickly and easily, we assume it must be common or likely. This is our tendency to judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily we can recall examples. For instance, if we frequently see news reports about certain types of events, we might overestimate their frequency or likelihood. If we see several news reports about car accidents, we may overestimate the likelihood of being in an accident ourselves. This can lead to unnecessary anxiety and even influence our behavior, such as avoiding driving altogether or taking longer routes to avoid perceived danger. Understanding these biases is the first step in mitigating their effects. By being aware of how our minds can trick us, we can take steps to make more rational and informed decisions. This might involve seeking out additional information, questioning our initial assumptions, or taking more time to deliberate before making a choice. There are many resources available to help us understand and counteract these biases. Books, workshops, and online courses can provide valuable insights into how our minds work and how we can improve our decision-making processes. By taking the time to learn about these cognitive biases and actively working to counteract them, we can make better decisions, reduce regret, and lead more fulfilling lives. The tricks our minds play on us are powerful, but with awareness and effort, we can overcome them. Section 5, Prospect Theory, the power of loss. Prospect theory explains how we make decisions when faced with risk and uncertainty. It suggests that we feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. This means we are more likely to take risks to avoid losses, even if it means taking bigger risks to achieve gains. For example, we might hold on to a losing investment for too long, hoping to avoid the pain of selling at a loss. Section 6. The halo effect. Judging by appearances. The halo effect is a cognitive bias where our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their character. This phenomenon is particularly powerful because it often happens subconsciously, without us even realizing it. The halo effect is our tendency to judge someone's character based on our overall impression of them. For instance, if someone makes a good first impression by smiling and being friendly, we might automatically assume they possess other positive traits, such as being intelligent, trustworthy, and competent. This can happen in various settings, from social gatherings to professional environments. If we find someone attractive or likable, we're more likely to assume they are also intelligent, trustworthy, and competent. This bias can be particularly strong in situations where we have limited information about the person. For example, in a job interview, an attractive candidate who presents themselves well might be perceived as more capable than they actually are, simply because of the positive impression they create. This bias can influence our decisions in many areas of life, from hiring decisions to personal relationships. In a job interview, a candidate who is well-dressed and confident might be favored over someone who is equally qualified but less polished in their presentation. Similarly, in social settings, we might gravitate towards people who are more physically attractive or charismatic, assuming they have other desirable qualities. It's important to be aware of the halo effect and to try to judge people based on their individual merits rather than our overall impressions. By recognizing this bias, we can make more objective decisions and avoid unfairly favoring or disadvantaging others based on superficial qualities. This awareness can help us build more genuine relationships and create fairer, more inclusive environments in both our personal and professional lives. Section 7. WYSIATI. What you see is all there is. WYSIATI stands for what you see is all there is. It describes our tendency to make judgments based on the information that is readily available to us while ignoring information that is not. This can lead to overconfidence in our judgments and decisions. We may believe we have a complete understanding of a situation when in reality we are only seeing a small part of the picture. Section 8. The two selves. Experiencing versus remembering. We have two selves, the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the present moment. It feels pain and pleasure. The remembering self is the storyteller of our lives. It remembers past experiences and anticipates future ones. Interestingly, the remembering self has more influence on our decisions. This is because our memories of experiences are often biased by their peak moments and how they ended. Section 9. Thinking smarter. Tips for better decisions. Making decisions is a fundamental part of our daily lives. Whether it's choosing what to eat for breakfast or making a significant career move, the quality of our decisions can greatly impact our overall well-being and success. Understanding how our minds work can help us make better decisions. Our brains have two systems of thinking. System 1, which is fast and intuitive, and System 2, which is slow and deliberate. By recognizing when to engage each system, we can improve our decision-making process. Here are a few tips. Slow down and think. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to make snap judgments. However, taking a moment to pause and reflect can lead to more thoughtful and effective decisions. This is where System 2 comes into play. When making important decisions, don't rush. Engage System 2. This means taking the time to gather information, weigh the pros and cons, and consider the long-term consequences of your choices. Rushing can lead to mistakes and regrets. Be aware of your biases. Our brains are wired to take shortcuts, which can sometimes lead to biased thinking. These biases can cloud our judgment and lead to poor decisions. By being mindful of our biases, we can strive to think more objectively. Recognize that your thinking may be influenced by unconscious biases. Seek out diverse perspectives. Engaging with people who have different viewpoints can help you see things from a new angle and challenge your assumptions. Don't rely solely on your own judgment. Get input from others. Consider the opposite. Sometimes playing devil's advocate and considering the opposite of your initial decision can reveal potential flaws in your reasoning. Challenge your assumptions by considering alternative viewpoints. This can help you identify any blind spots and make a more balanced decision. It's important to remain open-minded and flexible in your thinking. By understanding the two systems of thinking and the common biases that can trip us up, we can make more informed and rational decisions. Remember, good decision-making is a skill that can be developed with practice and awareness. So, take your time, seek diverse perspectives, and challenge your assumptions. Your future self will thank you.